Hi, everyone. Welcome. I am so happy you are here this evening. I am here with Kansas Cityan romance Regency author Janna McGregor. Welcome, my friend.
Oh, thank you, Lisa. I'm delighted to be here.
I'm.
And happy Pancake Day and happy Mardi Gras.
Oh, that's true. Mardi Gras and Pancake Day. I'm having my pancakes this weekend. How have you been? I hope you've been keeping warm.
I've been great. Warm, everything's relative. So I think this week I'm actually in Minneapolis right now. And I think this week we got down to minus 22 and the wind chill was like minus 30, 32. So, it was so bad that all of our windows have iced over.
Oh, ouch. That's when you're glad to stay inside with a good book.
Yes.
And the heater on.
Yes.
So I am
with a blanket.
Oh, absolutely. I am really happy to talk with you this evening. I am so excited to talk about all things romance with you. And always, I like to start off with a little bit of some background questions so people get to know you a little bit more. So my first question to you, I've been on your website and I always like to have a nose about, stalk the author that I'm talking to. And I saw on there a newspaper advert, the front cover of a magazine that said that you are an attorney, that you are now a writer, that you were doing two things at that time. And I absolutely loved it. I was so glad you put that on your website because it really shows no matter what part of your life you're in, what part of your career, whatever you're doing, if there's something you want to do, go ahead and do it. Absolutely. And I was just so happy to see that. So let me ask you, what made you, well, I wouldn't say made you, but what did you decide and say, look, I'm going to be a writer. I'm going to try my hand at this?
Well, we have to kind of go back a little bit. I have three children, and they are all the same age. They're triplets. And so what happened was I was forced to try to figure out what I was going to do with all this extra time because they all left for college at the same time.
Right.
And as I was, driving them to baseball practice or dance or whatever their extracurricular activity was, that pretty much filled my day. But when they were gone, I didn't have anything to do. And always in high school and in college and afterwards, I was a huge romance reader. But because I was so busy, I kind of let that fall by the wayside. And so I picked it back up again. And I was just voracious. As a matter of fact, the Parkville Library had the most wonderful romance collection. And they introduced me to Lisa Kleypas and Eloisa James and just all these wonderful, wonderful writers. And so I got back into it. And then I decided, why don't I try my hand at it? So I actually ended up going to a convention that was in Kansas City called the Romantic Times and took some writing courses there. And I actually wrote The Bad Luck Bride based upon an outline that I developed there. And it took me 45 days to write it.
Oh my! You definitely kept yourself occupied. And
yes,
triplet. I bet that was hard. So I mean, because you have three children, one goes off to college, you still got the other two, vice versa, but all at once. Thank goodness.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, no kidding, no kidding. And then I was like, oh my gosh. I wish I would have, kept them at home more because then I could have probably read more romance early on.
So what drove you? Because out of all the romance you could do, it's so big, it's so vast. What drew you to Regency?
Well, It was my mother. My mother was a teacher, and she was always a huge romance reader. But at her school, which Eugene Field, it used to be an elementary school in Poplar Bluff, every Friday, all the teachers would come in with their romance books that they had read over the week in a brown paper bag, and they would do like a swap. And one day she got a Barbara Cartland and brought it home and gave it to me. Mm-hmm. And that started my love affair with Regency romance. So it's all Barbara Cartland and my mom's fault.
So, okay, so the Regency era is quite unique. And I mean, it's not just a few years ago, it's quite a long while ago. What is your research like? What does it take to get into that Regency era?
That's a great question. I've got some books here that I do want to show you. I will tell you because I am an attorney, mm-hmm. One of the things that's really wonderful, and all of the laws that we have here in the United States come from English common law in terms of our civil laws and most of our criminal laws. And when you go back and look at marriage, particularly, family law and what it was like then, I mean, the differences are just, it's amazing. Because back then it was considered when a woman married a man, they became, through the Church of England, they became, considered one person. So the woman lost all rights to make a contract, to own property, to do all sorts of stuff. All of that went to her husband. And so that's where a lot of that stuff is. Now I'm going to show you this book. This is one of my favorite books, and you can tell from all the little squiggly things that I've got in here, The English Marriage. I actually got the idea for The Bad Luck Bride from this. Mm-hmm. And The Bad Luck Bride, believe it or not, is based upon a woman. Her name's Mary Eleanor Bowes, the Countess of Strathmore. And she was the great-great-great-great-grandmother of Queen Elizabeth II. She was an heiress, and when she married, she lost all of her money to her husband because he was a, gambler and didn't respect her and her property and things like that. So that's where I got that idea. But this whole thing goes through, the various type of marriages that are bad about that. But one of the other things that's really important is that you get why people like to read Regency romance. I think it's because of the elegance of it. People are well-mannered. It doesn't make any difference what type of, whether you're part of the aristocracy or you're a merchant, what other class you've got, I mean, there are certain elements of civility and community and society there. And this is one of the very first books I ever got. And as a matter of fact, I actually got this first through Mid-Continent Public Library. It's not in print anymore, but I was lucky enough to be able to find a copy. But I know that you can get it. And if anybody ever wants to go through and look at this, it goes from A to Z, what happens in the Regency. Now, what is the Regency? A lot of people will ask. The Regency, if anybody's seen Hamilton, and we're going to kind of go, I'm going to start prior to the Regency. King George III is in it, and he's the one that goes, "You'll be back," because under his reign, that's when the United States declared its independence, and we had, the Revolution of 1776. Well, George III kind of went mad, and I shouldn't say that he went mad. He had mental health issues. And it got to the point where he really could not reign and make decisions on behalf of the Commonwealth. And so his son, I'll show you this, George IV, right. There was a period of time when King George III was still the king, but his son, George the Fourth, became the Prince Regent. And what that meant is that he performed all the ministerial duties, along with, the making the decisions for the government, etc., in lieu of his father, or in the place of his father. And that period of time was 1811 to 1820. So because he was called the Prince regent, we get the Regency period. And so some people say the Regency period went from 1811 to 1830. Now, George's father died in 1820, so he became King George IV then from 1820, and then he died in 1830. So I know that that's a lot more than what you really wanted to know, but that's it. If anybody out there has watched the great Netflix Bridgerton, that is during the Regency period. So there you have it.
That's true, and that's really I will say no. I don't write Regency. I'm presuming with Bridgerton, the success of it, it's really given a boost and a focus to Regency romance.
I think so, and I think it's also given a boost and a focus to the history of that period too. You know, because I mean, it's romance kind of the romance centers on the couple that is featured within the book. That's what the story is about. The Regency period, or the era that the romance is in, is kind of the well, I mean, it's not only the background, but it kind of gives you a flavor of what's going on. So there was a lot of things that went on during that particular period of time that have shaped who we are today as a society, not only over, you know, in your country, but also in the United States here. So that kind of, I don't know, it's a kind of a roundabout answer to your question. But
unfortunately, this recording in the chat, for some reason, it's just bringing up Facebook user. But I'm reading it separately on Facebook. And Jen Simmons says, I love the history lesson with this. So this is perfect.
Good.
And April says, hello, Lisa and Janna. And Amy's
hello, April.
Amy is here.
Hello, Amy.
Amy, yes. And she says, Lisa, do you remember your history? Amy already knows the answer to this one. I'm pretty poor in history and demographics, or location would be the better word. She was going to Brighton, obviously in England, and she goes to me, where's Brighton in comparison to you? And I was like, oh, it's maybe 2 or 3 hours away. I was completely wrong. We're looking, I think it was like 6-7 hours plus. I don't even remember, but see, she says again, yes, you are. I'm just hideous with it. So hearing the history and just like that background knowledge really brings alive not just Regency, but really shows that the work it takes to really put together a Regency romance. It's got to be believable too.
It does. Well, you know, you're sitting there talking about, you know, that you have misjudged the distance. You know, one of the things that we have to be careful of when we write one of these is that, like, this is the second book that comes after The Bad Luck Bride, The Bride Who Got Lucky. And this particular book takes place in London, and then it also a majority of the book takes place in Portsmouth. Well, you know, how far is Portsmouth from London? I think it's like, what, Lizzie? So it'd be 9. Isn't it about 150 miles? Maybe it's less than that, but I think it's about that. But you have to sit there and you have to calculate it. If they're riding a horse to get to there, you can ride about 9-10 miles an hour, but you have to change horses every 2 hours. If you're in a coach, because you've got 4 or 6 horses, then go a little bit further, but you're going to go slower. Right. So, oh, Morgan. Hi, Morgan. So anyway, those are some of the things you have to worry about, because they didn't have trains back then. The only thing they had, you either walked, you rode a horse, or you were in a carriage. Or a boat, maybe.
Like you do, you've got to make it believable. So welcome, Morgan. It's really nice to have you here this evening. Like I said, for everyone else, I'm so sorry. For some reason, you're only coming up as Facebook user. It might be the fact that you're on my friends list and you're actually looking at the what we're doing here via my friends page rather than in the winter reading challenge page. That could be a reason. So if you've got a couple of minutes and you want to just jump over there and see if that works, then if you've got questions and stuff, I can click and bring you up on the screen for Janna to answer and speak to you. So let's get stuck into your books. Okay. Yes, the Caversham. Did I say that right? Caversham.
The Caversham heiresses.
Heiresses. So you got 6 books in that series so far. Are we going to see some more?
We will. I have promised that I would write the patriarch and matriarch's love story, Sebastian and Jenny. I plan on writing that. I've got the ideas for it. I've got the plot kind of set up. But I will actually be going out of my period back into further into a Georgian period. So I've got to learn everything about the dress and you know, their dances, how they socialized, etc. So they're a little bit freer than the folks in the Regency. So, you know, it'll be a little bit wilder, I think. But yes, we've got to do that. In the Bad Luck Bride, there was the Midnight Crier was introduced, and in The Good, the Bad, and the Duke, the readers got to meet the editor of this paper, which was a scandal rag, and it published all the goings on of these people. It was like the National Enquirer of its day, and so I planned to write the editor's story. His name was Martin. What was his last name? Richardson, I think. I don't know. I got to go back and do that. But anyway, so we'll find out why it's called The Midnight Crier. So yes, I at least have 2 more books. But one thing that I do want to tell you is that there are characters in this series. I have a new series that's going to start in June. And the characters in this series, several characters in this series, are actually going to be the main characters in the new series. And so it's all about that world continuing and you know.
Oh, interesting.
I know.
So, tell me a little bit about the story of the Caversham series. Okay, the characters, what it's about, and also I want to know, out of all these characters that you write about, what's been the most interesting one for you?
Okay.
Oh, hang on.
Well, I love them all, but
we do. But there's always one that's that little bit more interest, you know, a bit more fun. You enjoy writing.
Well, that's like, yeah, but that's like saying, you know, which of your kids do you like better? Oh, you can tell me which one do you like better? You know, it's like I like. What is it that oh, what is the name of those? Is it the Avett brothers? You know, I love them all, but in so many different ways.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
Yeah.
One for this, another one for this. It's the same when people say to me, because as you can tell, people, I come from Regency land, and people say to me, "What do you prefer, England or America?" And I go, "I can't. You can't. I wish I could mix them both together, because there's some here I love, and there's some here. I go to England and I miss home, and I go here and I miss England." So I get it. I really get it. I just want to say, Morgan's the only one that's coming up with her name in the chat. So everybody else, I'm really sorry that for some reason your name's not coming up. If you have a question for Janna, just put your name in parentheses, so I can pull that up on the screen for Janna to answer for you. So Janna, give me a little bit of a synopsis about this series of yours.
Well, basically, the Caversham heiresses are a family where, of course, all the women are heiresses, and so they have to be careful with what they're with their monies and make certain that they're finding true love and not wasting their fortune. And so it's basically 3 siblings and a cousin that form the the basis of this series. And then there's a couple of friends and a couple of in-laws that are featured in the other two books. But you asked me, so Claire's book, The Bad Luck Bride that you've got up there, is the first. She's the cousin, and she is best friends with Emma, Michael, and William, and their books are featured 2, 3, and 5. Now, the bad guy in this book, his name's Paul. Oh, which, by the way, this is a Kansas City thing. Claire marries a gentleman by the name of Alex, the Marquess of Pembroke.
Okay, Pembroke, yeah.
Okay. His nemesis, who used to be his best friend, is a guy by the name of Paul Barstow. Now, anybody in Kansas City knows that there are 2 high schools, Pembroke and Barstow High School. And so guess where I got those names? So see, there's a Kansas City connection.
There you go. There you go. Not just you. There's bits in the
No. But you asked me about which character really spoke to me or did something, and it was the bad guy in The Bad Luck Bride, Paul. And Paul came into every one of these books because he would, he just was one of those guys that would not leave me alone. So if you want to see his redemption, it's in The Good, the Bad, and the Duke. So that's kind of an idea of who these people are. And of course, the point of the story is it doesn't make any difference how much money you have. You're not really happy unless you can find a way not only to accept who you are yourself, but also to be able to find love and be open to love. And so that's what the purpose of a romance is to give you a happily ever after, and to let you know that we all have the same problems that everybody else does.
Yeah,
so.
and the one thing that I've noticed that appeals to me is, well, really, to be honest, romance is delicious, because yes, you've got the romance, but you've got the gossip and you've got the drama as well. It's just, oh my gosh, what happens now? Oh, what did she just do? Oh my gosh. And you keep going and you keep going. And by the end of it, you're like, okay, where's book number 2? I need to find out what happens. What is she going to do? What's he going to do? So I can see how addictive it is, very much. Amy's got a question.
Oh.
Did your new book come out?
Thank you, Amy. My new book comes out, and here's a picture of it. It comes out June 29th. This is the first in my brand new series, The Widow Rules. And this series, so the title of the book is The Duke in Time. This series is based on 3 women walking into a solicitor or an attorney's office for the reading of the will of their deceased husband, and they discover that they're all married to the same deceased man. And so it's how they, yeah. Now, do they become friends? Oh, yeah, they become best friends. And so it's all about how they find their true loves and get through all that mess.
And when is it due out again? Sorry?
June 29th.
June 29th. So there you go, Amy, June 29th.
Thank you, Amy, for asking that.
So Jen Simmons has got a question too. I'm so glad she put her name in parentheses there. Paul started out as someone I hated, and man, I grew up to love so much.
Hi, Jen. How are you? I know, out of all my characters, he's the one that people just absolutely adore. And it's wild because everybody hated him. As a matter of fact, I'll tell you a story about this. My editor, when I was telling her, because I was through the first book, I was writing the second book, and she said, where are you going to go with this? And so I said, well, the 4th book is going to be Paul's story. And she goes, I don't know. I don't like him. As a matter of fact, I hate him. And I said, oh, come on, come on. Let me at least try. And she loved it. So, it's funny. We love those bad boys being redeemed.
Of course we do. We like redemption as well. I made my table jiggle. I've got to ask you a question. Okay. So I got to get my prop for this to really show you how I this is what I picture now every time I pick up a Regency book with a certain word in the title.
Okay. Rake. I bet it's rake.
What?
The rake. How did I know that?
You just know it.
You know, rake is short for Raquel, which is a gentleman that has he has no respect for society or mores, and he does whatever he wants. He's all in it for pleasure. Mm-hmm. But then, of course, we'll discover that, he's really a softy deep down inside and has a heart of gold. And the reason why he acts the way he does is because something in his life is, caused him to be like that. So yes, we love our rakes.
We love our rakes. But as somebody who hadn't
love that prop,
somebody who hasn't read romance, and I read that, and I was rake. What's a rake on a title? What? And now, during the autumn and when I use my rake, my husband will tell me, "What are you doing?" And I go, "I'm my rugged rake outside." To this day, he has no idea why I call it my rugged rake. But that's my homage to the Regency world of romance.
Oh, I love it. It's perfect. Perfect.
I was trying to find my little trowel too, so I could say, look, here's a rake and here's a baby. But I couldn't find my rake. I couldn't find my baby rake. I thought that would have been hilarious, but there you go. There you go. I missed out on that part of the humor. So I'm having so much fun. I could keep going. How do people keep in contact with you? I see some things happening on Facebook. You've got this group going on. So how can people connect with you and connect with the Regency world?
Well, you can go to my group is called Janna McGregor's Ladies and Lords of Langham Hall. And what is that Langham? Langham. Mm-hmm. Langham Hall is because the patriarch is the Duke of Langham from The Bad Luck Bride. So you can go there, or you can just get in and search Janna McGregor, and you'll be able to find it. Because if you end up on my author page, you'll be able to see that there's a connection for the group. But the group's a lot of fun. We have a lot of giveaways. We have guests. We do all sorts of fun stuff. So right now we're Fashion Week in New York. It was supposed to be this weekend, and I mean they're going to do it, but it's going to be I think it's only like Thursday or Friday. So we're doing a Regency Fashion Week. So we were showing reticules and slippers and men's breeches and all sorts of stuff. So to celebrate Regency Fashion Week. Yeah. So
April has a question. She says, can we join your group, Janna?
Absolutely. Absolutely. All you got to do is just, go over there and ask for an invite, and we'll let you in.
Well, there you go.
And the other thing is my website is www.jannamcgregor.com. Mm-hmm. I've actually redone it, getting ready for A Duke in Time, my new release. And we've got all of the Cavishams there. And I've got a couple of short stories that are up. So, yep, that's it.
And that's anthology as well on there.
Yes.
As well. My goodness. We are just spoiled. I've been on the website. All the links are there to Janna's social media, so you'll be able to get her on any platform that you enjoy. And I really do encourage you to join up with Janna and hear all about Regency World now and in the future. Someone says, awesome, I have pre-ordered your book. So
thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
Didn't say who they were. I'm so sorry, but I'm glad you're enjoying the romance world, and thank you for connecting with Janna there. So I also want to say, so I brought up the book here, The Bad Luck Bride. We have ordered this for our specialized book collection for book discussions. The Bridgerton series on Netflix, as we talked about, has given Regency a big boost. And this is one thing that I thought this would be really great to do for a discussion, to have a talk about. So these books are forthcoming. When they come in, they will be available on our collection. And because you're all watching, I'm going to go ahead and say, hey, Janna, when these books come in, do you fancy doing a book group with us and a book discussion on The Bad Luck Bride and Regency?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah, before the virus hit, we Lynn Cassidy, I can't remember what, is it Fairdale? I don't know. It's one of the branches in Mid-Continent. And I actually went up there and we did a book discussion on the Bad Luck Bride. It was so neat. I met so many wonderful people there. So yes, absolutely. And if we can't meet in person, I'll be there definitely, virtually.
Yes, and if you need, if it's virtual, I will give you recipes so you can have your scones and cups of tea with with your pinkies out while
there you go
is going on. Well, Janna, thank you so much for joining us today. I am so happy I got this chance to speak to you.
Thank you.
Please keep in contact. Please keep in touch. We want to know every new release that's going on, and check in with us. We'd love to do this again with you and keep yapping about the world. I almost forgot one thing. Somebody told me that there was a great article that came out that said, what books would they like to see made into films and TV? Now, I believe somebody's series was on there too.
It was. The Caversham Heiresses made that on the Entertainment Weekly article. I was very honored, very touched that they included my books on there. So it was very sweet.
So everybody that's watching now and in time to come, because this video will still be available, that is just another reason why you need to pick up Janna McGregor's books and start with The Bad Luck Bride. So again, absolutely. Sorry, I didn't mean to jump in there and stop the flow, but Janna, thank you so much for joining us this evening. I hope.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
It's been great fun. You take care, my friend.
You too. Bye-bye now.